All right, get comfortable. The next one's vitamin E. And the reason I say get comfortable is because this one takes a little bit more time. There's more information on vitamin E. So, scientific name for vitamin E, the one that's most common is called alpha tocopherol. If you look at a vitamin tablet and it contains vitamin E, odds are the form of that vitamin E is going to be alpha tocopherol. And again, that's the most potent form. But there's actually a family of tocopherols. Depending on who you ask, sometimes there's 7 or even 11 different types of tocopherols, plural, or sometimes tocotrienols. All of those things are different forms of vitamin E. So the one I want you to remember the most is alpha tocopherol because that's the most potent form of vitamin E. All right, main functions of vitamin E. I mentioned this on the vitamin A. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. And when I say antioxidant, you've probably heard the word oxidation. Even if you took high school chemistry, you remember doing redox, and redox reactions were a coupling of oxidation, the loss of an electron, and reduction or gaining an electron. So antioxidants help to stop that oxidative process. So if you're an ACE, you'll remember that vitamins A, C, and E are the different antioxidants. We haven't done C yet. You guys remember from A to look at your notes for C as an antioxidant. And then finally, vitamin E is the most potent. All right, so a little chemistry. This demonstrates how what's referred to as a free radical is formed. And a free radical, for those of you that had a lot of chemistry, you guys know this already, but a free radical is where you have a loss of an electron in a compound, and that makes the compound highly reactive. Sometimes people will use the word promiscuous because that free radical is looking for that one extra electron. And you guys remember the octet rule in chemistry. Most electrons in a healthy state want to have a full outer shell or a valence shell. A free radical is missing an electron, and therefore it'll steal electrons to fulfill its outer shell. And that loss of electrons is called oxidation, remember. So this demonstrates what a free radical can do when it's formed in the body. If you have a healthy compound with its valence shell of electrons fully complete, a free radical, which is missing one of its electrons, will steal an electron from a normal compound. And after it's stolen that electron, the free radical is quenched, but then it damages whatever function that healthy cell was supposed to do in the body. And the two things that are probably most notable about oxidized tissue is it causes membranes in your body to become leaky. That is, if they're supposed to keep things from passing to the cell membrane, if they get oxidized, those membranes can become leaky. And especially if tissues are supposed to sequester, for instance, calcium or sodium and potassium, they fail to do that as well. If you guys remember the fluid mosaic model of a plasma membrane, if you had a free radical within that membrane, it can disrupt the structure of that membrane and cause the membrane to be leaky. So that's one thing that free radicals can do. The other thing they can do is damage DNA. And as you know, DNA is what we use to make proteins. Proteins produces structure and enzymes in our body. And if that DNA is damaged, when you have poorly produced proteins, that causes things that are associated with aging and even in extreme cases, cancers. So as you can see, vitamin E is important. So these free radicals that are produced in our body, can you blow up that a little bit? See if I can hold this still. They've been implicated in a variety of disease states. Probably the two that are most notable, if you look up on top, aging and cancer have been associated with the production of these free radicals. The free radicals are the loss of electrons where you're producing oxidative stress within the body. Probably the other part that's quite noticeable on here is the association with cardiovascular disease. So a lot of what we associate with diseases of aging, like cardiovascular disease and cancer, and just aging are associated with the production of free radicals. So if you have an antioxidant, it'll prevent that. So again, I don't know how well you can see this. You could pause and blow up on it, but what this is illustrating is how free radicals are formed in the body. In the center of this, you see that there's DNA damage, one of the two things that happen from free radicals. But then all around there, this shows things that produce free radicals. And one of the things that's very notable is, if you look over here on this side, the powerhouse of the cell, the so-called mitochondria, which is the old-fashioned mitochondria, those actually produce free radicals, which is rather interesting because the higher your metabolism, the more free radicals your body produces, and the more potential you have to produce DNA damage. So you guys have probably heard that exercise is good for you. Well, exercise produces more free radicals, and those free radicals can cause damage. There's also a variety of environmental things that cause free radicals. The two that are probably most notable is sunlight. When a photon of sunlight hits, for instance, an ozone molecule, it'll produce a free radical, and oxygen, and that free radical can cause leaky cell membranes. If you can imagine these kind of things happening in your body, any tissues that are exposed to oxygen can become oxidized and cause free radicals. So the epithelial cells on the outside of our body protect us from free radicals, but your eyes are sensitive, and then anywhere that air or oxygen interacts with. So imagine the path of oxygen when you breathe it into your lungs. That can cause free radical damage in your lung tissue. That oxygen is transferred to hemoglobin in your red blood cells, so it's susceptible to oxidative stress. And then finally, all of the tissues in our body that are red because they're exposed to blood or have myoglobin in them can produce free radical damage. So things like muscles, metabolically active tissue, you want to make sure you have enough antioxidants to stop that free radical damage. And here's how an antioxidant works. It's a little bit simplified, but if you have a free radical that's missing an electron, what an antioxidant does is acts as an electron donor. It'll give up an electron, and the word I put down here is it'll quench that free radical so that it no longer disrupts cell membrane or has the potential to cause DNA damage. So in essence, an antioxidant helps stop free radicals, and those free radicals are no longer available to disrupt cell membranes, cause DNA damage. So this vitamin E as well as A and C are helpful in preventing aging and then even cancer and cardiovascular disease. So kind of an important one. So what I want you to get from this is that vitamin E helps quench free radicals that are naturally produced in our bodies. So good food sources. It's not written on here, but any plants or whole grains are a good source of vitamin E. Vitamins E, I guess I should say. If you want to concentrate the fat portion of a plant, you get a plant oil. And usually, I wrote down plant oils. Probably the best thing to write in your notes would be vegetable oils. Vegetable oils are a great source of vitamin E. So probably the best ones are like the plant oils, like corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil are great sources. Olive oil, not bad, not as good as other vegetable oils or mixed vegetable oils or corn oil even. By the way, peanuts, peanut oil, that's not a vegetable. Peanuts aren't even a nut. So the other good source of vitamin E are whole grains. And we're going to mention whole grains a bit more when we get to the B vitamins, but whole grains are everything or any food like a bread or something that's made from the whole grain, not white bread, whole wheat pasta. Even steel cut oats are much different than rolled oats because they retain the portion that contains vitamin E. Okay, so vitamin E, it's an antioxidant like A and C. It's the most potent form. Alpha tocopherol is the one, and it helps quench free radicals that are produced in your body. Good one.